Hi everyone, it's Becky Ripplemeyer, the Soap Sister, coming to you today, December 13th, 2012. And today we're going to be making some soaps, a goat milk variety, actually a couple of goat milk varieties. So, welcome to the shop. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Please keep in mind this is not a comprehensively instructional video. It's not meant to be. It's just a demonstration for you to enjoy if you like. And if you're curious about how we make soap here at Heirloom Soapworks, come on in and watch. Here we go. Let's get started. For today I have my oils melted already just to make things a little quicker. And I'm going to go through the process the way I do just every day when I make my goat's milk soap. I know there are a lot of different techniques to making goat milk soap. I've tried quite a few of them, including freezing soap, or freezing the goat milk rather, to make the soap, to keep it from overheating. And I've used different amounts of goat's milk in my soap, but I'm going to show you the way I make it that everybody seems to like. So first of all, I'm starting off, my soap is made from scratch, always, with a blend of olive oil, coconut, and palm oil. That's what I have found to work the best for me over the years. So that's always what I start out with the exception of my Castile soap. But that's for another day. What I'm doing now is adding my coconut and palm oil, which has already been measured, weighed, melted, and I'm putting it in with my room temperature pumice olive oil, which is the olive oil I prefer to use. According to Susan Miller-Cabbage, who is much more of a soap expert than I am and has written several wonderful books, pumice olive oil is the best to soap with because it has the higher percentage of unsaponifiable components, which basically means they don't turn into soap. There are portions of it that remain in the finished bar, which make it more moisturizing. What I'm going to do now is just mix this a little bit to get rid of any lumps of palm oil that haven't totally melted. Okay, it's important to get all those mixed up just so that they don't leave any hunks of oil in your finished soap. You want it to be nice and smooth. You want, of course, some oil left in the soap, but you don't want hunks of it because it'll leave nasty, slimy little places in your bar, which nobody likes. Okay, next I'm going to add my lye water solution, which has been mixed carefully. Mixing lye into water, always. Always put the lye into the water, not the other way around. And this is cooled to room temperature. So the mixture that I'm using right now, the oils are probably 85 degrees, 80 to 85 degrees. Here's my thermometer. Let's just see what they are officially. Okay. Yep, they're right at 79 degrees. Yeah, between 79 and 80, which is where I like to soap. It gives me a decent amount of time to work, especially with goat's milk, because as you will see, we're going to get some acceleration later on. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine the lye water solution with my fats and mix that until we get to trace. And I'm hoping that you can see when it goes to trace. There we go. I think that'll work. Pardon my arm, but I am left-handed, and this is the only way I can set this up down here. So here we go. You can see it's starting to change color. Starting to look much more opaque than just a couple moments ago. Okay. I don't know how in focus this is But as you can see, when you first start mixing it, it almost gets like a runny applesauce texture. I love watching soap as it transforms before my very eyes in the bowl. I hope you can see that. It's got that grainy applesauce look to it, which is normal. And it looks thicker now than what it will look in just a couple minutes as the chemical reaction known as saponification starts to really take hold and get going. When I teach soap making, I always warn people, it looks thicker at this stage to me than it does when it actually comes to trace. Don't be fooled by that initial thickening, because that's not the trace that we're looking for. I hope you can see now that it's starting to get much smoother. I don't see hardly any of that applesauce texture. It's pretty much gone. So I'm going to continue mixing. The other thing that I find interesting, and experienced soap makers have probably seen this, is the different colors you get depending on your olive oil and the different oils, the different batches. It can vary at this stage quite a bit to me. Lately, this last batch of olive oil and palm oil seems to almost have a pinkish cast to it to me, which is different than normal. I don't see it in the finished soap, but at this stage I see a different color. Okay. It's getting there. We're not quite to trace. Now is when I add my super fatting ingredients. Some people add them at the beginning with the base oils. I prefer to add them now. My reasoning is that hopefully less of these will saponify and more of them will be remaining in the finished bars of soap. I use a combination in this recipe of unrefined shea butter, mango butter, and avocado oil. I find that it makes a very nice moisturizing soap. To a nice trace, which is a little bit scary because I haven't added the fragrance or the goat's milk yet, which has a tendency to really accelerate the process. So hold on to your hats because this may all go very quickly here. May have to hurry like a little bunny rabbit here because I'm thinking this is going to accelerate on me. Not sure. I'm working actually. Working without a net. I have some fragrance oils that I have not used before that I'm going to be using today, and your guess is as good as mine as to what they're going to do, but I have a sneaky suspicion that they're going to accelerate. So this video may all be for naught, maybe really ugly and not much talking and a lot of work in here at the end. Okay. I'm not adding really anything extra to most of these. Occasionally I add oatmeal. I'm not planning on doing that with these. I just want a creamy goat's milk soap. So before I get too far into this, I'm going to measure my fragrance oils out so that they're ready to go. Because I have a suspicion that, like I said, this is all going to go really, really fast here in a couple minutes. So I'm going to pour what I believe is about 1 loaf's worth in here, and I'm going to add the fragrance oil after I measure it. And I'll just hope that this doesn't turn into a real mess. It's always exciting when you're working with a particular fragrance oil for the first time. The ones I've found that I have the most trouble with typically are florals. I think that's pretty common. But boy, I'll tell you, you just never know when one's going to come out of the blue and just really, really accelerate on you. And if you've made soap before, you know what a wild, crazy, kind of helpless feeling that can be when your soap starts solidifying before you get it completely in the mold. That can be ugly. So I'm going to hope for the best here. Measuring my goat's milk, weighing it rather. Okay. Now then, wish me luck. I'm not going to use the stick blender because that seems to accelerate any acceleration. So I'm just going to use a spoon at this point. Actually, I think I'm going to use a wire whisk. I think that'll do a little bit better job of incorporating the ingredients without accelerating the soap any more than I have to. Okay, looks like we can see this. So first I'm going to put in the fragrance oil, followed almost immediately by the goat's milk, because I don't know which one of these may cause me a problem. Maybe they won't cause a problem at all, but I'm mentally prepared for a problem, so that's half the battle. Okay, hopefully you can see this, and it is not accelerating too quickly at this point, but it looks like it's getting ready to seize. It's tracing pretty heavily now. So without further ado, I'm gonna put this into the molds. What I'm fragrancing this with is a knockoff of English leather. This is a special request by a customer of mine for her husband, and so I make it a loaf of these, and then whatever I have left, okay, there we go. So I've got that in the mold. You can see that. Yeah, it's got a nice trace going right now. So I'm going to swirl the tops. I just swirl my tops with a chopstick. I always like to make sure I get it into the corners so that the end bars are never skimpy. For some reason the corners have a tendency to be a little low sometimes. And here we go. Wow, well that wasn't too bad, was it? I was expecting worse. Okay, so here's what the soap looks like. I'm hoping that you can see the texture. The next thing I'm going to do is, I have a little tiny bit of bentonite clay, which is actually a volcanic ash substance, but it's what I like to put and what most people like to put into their shave soaps. Now, I have to guesstimate this amount, because I have no idea other than eyeballing it exactly how much is left in here. So, just from past experience, I'm eyeballing how much I think should go in, whipping it in, and these are going to go into little, basically little decorative cupcake kind of molds that I have right here. They come in a nice little pack like this. And we're going to go ahead and fill a couple of these for my friend's husband. And here we go. I'm just going to kind of lay it in there at this point, smooth it off a little bit. This Actually, I'm very impressed with this fragrance oil. This particular one is from Save On Scents, and I believe the website is www.saveonscents, SAVEONSCENTS.com. Pretty sure that's what it is. And if you've never used them, I have to say they have a wonderful, wonderful variety of fragrances. I don't know that they're really tested as extensively as some in cold processed soap, but I really have never had so far a problem with theirs in my soap. So I recommend them. I love their variety, and I love the performance of their oils in my soap, at least so far, and I've been doing this for 10 years. Okay, next. Okay, we had good luck with that one. Now we're going to try another one. And here we go. This is also from Save On Scents. This is a special request from the same customer, and it is a knockoff, their version of the classic cologne known as Shalimar. Of course, it's not made by the same people or any of that kind of good stuff, but it is their version of what they think Shalimar smells like. So here we go. I'm going to put that into this along with the rest of the goat's milk that I separated out. Okay. Now we're going to use the spoon because there's no fragrance on that. And as you can see, this is still at a good medium trace, I'd say. Medium to thick trace, heavy trace. Getting lots of tracing. So, without further ado, I'm going to measure this fragrance, and we're going to go from here. Smaller measuring cup this time. Okay, get it right here. And once again, let's hope for the best because I haven't used this one before either. So we just gotta hope it doesn't accelerate too much. So I'm gonna add the fragrance and the goat's milk. And ooh, I do recognize that smell, and it does smell good. The original, to me, it's kind of a exotic scent. Smells really good. Very a vintage scent, I would say, probably from my childhood and before. Okay, that went in very smoothly. So we're going to go ahead and put this in the last two molds. I don't expect these to be quite as full as the other mold, just because I had some left over for the shaving soap, but looks like we're getting pretty close to having them full. Really, thankfully, the soap is behaving rather nicely today, almost as if it knows it's on camera. Since I moved my workshop downstairs, that seems to have helped too. I prefer soaping in a cool room, 65 degrees or so. That seems to hold down the overreacting of the soap. It seems to help. At least it seems so to me. I know I have a lot more issues, it seems like, in the summer when I'm upstairs and in the winter when I'm down here working. Okay, that's that now. Again, I'm going to work, bang it down into the mold, try to get rid of any void that might have created because that was a pretty thick trace. And we're going to grab another chopstick and swirl the tops of these two. go. Swirling is so much easier when the soap is just at that nice thick trace. I've driven myself crazy before trying to swirl soap that wasn't at a thick enough trace, and swirl, 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 and the swirls just sort of melt back into the log. So this one's actually working quite nicely, and that's pretty much it. So here's our knockoff Shalimar bar. Knockoff Shalimar bar here. And there. And that's pretty much it. Thanks so much for watching. Whip together 3 loaves of soap and a couple shaving cupcakes just in a few minutes. And that's how easy soaping can be. I hope if you haven't already that you'll give it a try. It is a blast and a great way to make a living. Thanks so much. Merry Christmas, everyone, and we'll see you next year.